Hello, I'm John Pawson, and this is the Experience is Everything podcast brought to you by Grey Doors Events. In this episode, I'm talking to events executive Saffron Mattu. She'll be taking us through a little bit about how she got involved in the industry in the first place and her position here at Grey Doors. We'll also be going through what a typical week in the life of an events executive looks like. There's plenty to get through, so let's dive straight in. Hello, Saffron.
Hello.
Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast, and especially since this is episode 2, so early doors of the podcast. It's great that you have agreed to be part of it. So thank you very much.
Amazing. It's very event heavy, considering we're at episode 2.
Episode 2, exactly. Yeah. So you can obviously tell everyone else how much fun you've had being part of the podcast after this, and then everyone else will be chomping at the bit to get involved as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we wanted to do with the podcast is find out a bit more about all the different members of staff of Grey Doors Events. So get to know Saffron a little bit today, and on your suggestion, I think the topic for today, which I think is a great topic, is to talk through a sort of week in the life of an events expert. And I think that's a fantastic thing for us to be able to do, partly so that I can find out about what you get up to every week, but obviously to share that with the outside world as well. If there's anyone interested in becoming an events executive, then it's a great insight for them, and obviously it shows off all the great work that you guys do day in, day out. So to start with, though, we'll do the getting to know you bit, if that's all right, which the icebreakery type stuff, which team building exercises are built upon. So we asked Katie the same question last time round as a starter, which was, what was the first thing that you can remember as a kid thinking, I want to do that when I grow up? As an example, Katie wanted to be a fighter pilot, which is very cool.
Yeah. I think I wanted to be famous.
Nice.
I don't think I know what for. I just think I wanted to be a celebrity.
Just want the fame.
Just wanted the fame. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I cared why. I think I
just let me be famous.
Yeah. And then obviously that soon dwindled. Well, maybe it didn't until I was like 16. I remember being younger, being like, I want to be on TV, or like, I want to be a singer or an actress or rich.
On an events podcast. Yeah, just rich. It's just rich. That's the main thing.
I remember my mum like saying to me once, she was like, but not all famous people are rich. And I was like, really?
How's that work? Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was younger, definitely that. But then maybe as I got to like sort of like 6, 7, 8, I think my parents explored that more by putting me in like theatre school.
Right.
So then I was in theatre school for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
so they really embraced it. They were
they were
fantastic.
very supportive parents. So yeah, there was that. And then for years I thought, well, that's what I'll go into, like musical theatre or acting. And I had like some auditions, and there was like things that I was in, and there was things that I nearly got into, and I did get some amazing experiences. And then I think when I got like 16, 17, because I would be doing this for 5 hours on a Saturday for pretty much the age of 8 to 17.
Wow.
And I remember being like, I want my Saturdays. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to do things on the weekend. Like I started to resent it a bit. And then I kind of stopped. And then just kind of fell out of momentum. And that's kind of how that stopped. But had I kept up with that, I wouldn't be surprised if I was still doing it. But yeah, like it was something I definitely enjoyed, but I did just want to be that 16-year-old that went to town with her friends.
Well, yeah, you feel like missing out on the usual stuff otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing is, I suppose it's something you can continue to explore or come back to when you feel you'd like to, I suppose.
Definitely.
So with all those years of putting in the work for the kind of theatrical side, Is there anything that I should go and rewatch? You said you got a few things. You're in a few things. Is there? Hang on. There's
nothing noteworthy. Maybe a Dell. There's a Dell laptop advert that I was in for about 2 seconds, which seems to be like my interesting fact on any icebreaker because I can't seem to think of anything else. That I did when I was like 8. And me and my mum ended up driving, I think it was like Birmingham or something, and I spent the day repeatedly falling over, like just constantly. And I remember when the advert came out, and I was like in it for all of maybe just under 2 seconds, and I was like, wow, all that for that.
Just to clarify, the falling over, was that what you were supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I was meant to be like knocked. It was for it was for Dell laptops, and I was like knocked over by this girl's bag because it was like having clunky laptops, not anymore. It was
I
really
take it you use Dell to this day. You've been sold.
I am a full MacBook supporter.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, no. So there was that, and then there was a few things I did, like radio plays, and then there was like auditions I had and stuff. But most of them I didn't get. So
Well, I guess it's
not
a very
been that
good. Well, it must be. Well, it's super competitive, I suppose, that world.
Yeah.
But no, fantastic. And to have, even if it is 2 seconds in an ad, you must have that saved somewhere. Surely you've got.
Yeah, it's still on YouTube now. Like it's my party trick when my friends come over.
Okay.
I'm like,
I'll just make a note we'll see if we can add that into the podcast. Just have a little ad break for Dell. See if they're interested. Yeah. Cool. Well, fantastic. Amazing. So from the heady heights of, following
fame.
that of
From a
fame, the heady
huge
heights of
career.
fame, what was it that turned your interest towards events?
Well, so I was doing that, and then as like every 16-year-old, I was like, well, I want a part-time job. I want to start making money. And near me, so I'm originally from Buckinghamshire. Now I live in Manchester. But back at home, there's a events company in Oxfordshire that I got a part-time job at. Basically like waiting staff. But they went to, so they mainly did weddings, and then they got really big in the sports world. So then so I worked at Wimbledon, in the like private dining tents. I worked at Formula One. I worked at Boodles, which is like the pre-Wimbledon tennis. And I did that, and then that was sort of throughout GCSEs, A levels. And then when it came to university, I was like, well, I definitely want to go to university. But I don't really know what I want to study, because before that it was always, well, I'm going to go to uni and do performing arts, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I work in events now. It's fun. Like I don't hate it. It's it's interesting. So I was like, I really just want to go to uni for going to uni. So why don't I just study event management? So I went to uni. I went to Man Met and studied event management. Um, And then throughout that, so I did a placement year in an event agency in London. And as that sort of progressed, I was like, yeah, I do enjoy this and this is fun. And now it's kind of all I know. And I remember Katie saying last week in her episode that once you're in it, you just, and like it's so true, because before I started Grey Doors, I was kind of like, all I've been in is events since I was 16. I'm now 24. So I was like, maybe now's the time to try something new, because I quit my last job, and and it was actually impossible to apply for anything. My eyes were just drawn to event roles. I was just constantly going for event roles, and I was like, it's actually impossible to get out of. Like, I genuinely don't know what else I would do or I'd be good at.
There is something, isn't there? It seems to be a theme
Yeah.
here emerging.
See, Katie said people stay because they love it so much. I think we stay because we're trapped.
That's not true. You could go and do a Dell advert again if you wanted to.
So true. No, but yeah, it is like, it's one of those things, because you do get a bit of a bug for it, and like it is a very people-based job, and yeah, just it's kind of all I knew, and then all I kind of wanted to stick at. So yeah,
Interesting as well that you worked on Wimbledon and worked weddings, because again, from Katie's
yeah,
conversation last time, it seems to be
the
the stepping
gateway.
stones to
Yeah,
events. Wimbledon, who'd have
yeah.
thought Wimbledon's that kind of stepping stone in rather
Well, because
than
there's so many elements to Wimbledon. Like, you don't necessarily need to be working like on in Wimbledon, like on the courts. And so we were like part of the private dining experience where people would book to have like a 3-course meal before they went and watched the match. And it was more like businessy. So we had like companies come book a table, was a like a incentive for their
right.
employees or something. But we overlooked the practice courts. Um, so it was so funny because one day we were just like, I was in the back in like where the chefs are, and I was looking at, and then everyone was like, "That's the Williams sisters," and I was like, "What?"
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really cool. Um, but they weren't really far away, so I was like, "Is it?"
It's definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was really, really cool, and like I have had the opportunity to do and meet some amazing people. Like, we also did this. I don't know if you've heard of it. Wings for Life, the charity.
Mhm.
It's by the guy Christian Horner, is it? The Formula One Red Bull.
Oh, right. Yes, yeah.
And he put on a shooting event for all the F1 drivers. So there was all these F1 drivers, and I don't really watch it, so I didn't really know who they were. And everyone was like losing their minds, and all the chefs and all the guys were like, "Oh my God, that's so," and Mike Tyndall was there, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't know who anyone is. And then all of a sudden, Jerry Halliwell, because she's married to him,
Yeah.
she like pops up, and I'm like, everyone's geeking over these Formula One drivers, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a Spice Girl.
Yeah. Now I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not a
So
big F1 person either, so I'd probably be
no,
in the same boat, to be honest. The first
yeah,
person I'd recognise would probably be Jerry Halliwell.
yeah. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, you do get to meet some cool people and do some cool things for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. It's nice little fringe benefit, I guess, to working
Yeah,
those sorts of events.
100%. It just adds to your experience and your like life
Mm.
stories, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say that they've, done those sorts of things. Or I suppose if you're supporting people like, and again, I keep going back to Katie because this is only number two,
Yeah,
but she had to drive. Actually having to interact with people as
yeah.
part of your job. So
And I
yeah,
think
it's
when
quite.
you're doing it, you don't realize how much you've done or how cool it is until
Mm,
certainly when you sit down and talk about it, and you're like, oh my God, I did that, I've done that, about that.
yeah.
So yeah, it is, you definitely do get a lot of opportunities in this industry for sure.
Mm. Well, I mean, I was going to ask you about like strangest or most amazing experiences of working in events, but sounds like those would probably be up there in terms of being able
They
to.
would be. I think my most amazing experience was an experience I had last year at my old job, which was a small event agency, and we did a event in Paris for 50 people, um, and it was for a client of ours who has a lot of money. And he hired out for 50 of his friends. This is for his 50th birthday party, the Palace Opera Garnier in Paris. And we had a private dinner and show there for him. And then we flew Liam Gallagher out, and
No
he
way.
did a private concert for him and his friends. And at that point, our boss was like, go and enjoy it. So I was literally touching distance on the side with all his AV team. And I just remember the whole time so my best friend is from Manchester. Um, and I FaceTimed her, and I just had her on FaceTime the whole time. She was literally like, what? Like, literally, like, we were as close as like, he could have literally been on the other end of my living room. And it was amazing. Like, I will never, ever, ever have that experience again, to work with his team, to actually have a conversation with him, to watch him that closely with just 50 other people in the room in the Palace Opera Garnier. We were literally walking into the palace, and like tourists were all stood outside just taking pictures of us because they were just like, what the hell?
It must be famous. There you go. That's
Yeah.
your little slice of that fame that you're after from
Yeah,
when you were younger.
exactly. I was like, I'm shy. Obviously, they were all looking at me. But yeah, that was like one of those things where I was like, oh my God, wow.
That's
I mean, the
incredible.
stress leading up to it was horrific, but it was all worth it on the day. So yeah,
That's
it
it.
was
I suppose you
amazing.
get to see your work in action then. You put all that effort in, and again, the fringe benefit of putting the work in and being boots on the ground doing the job is
Like, we
that
had Fred from First Date there. He
right,
was doing the wine for the table, just like going
as you
around to
do,
the guests and just pouring them wine, because we were like, because we can.
because we can. Was he trying to set people up as he went? I mean, it's part of his
No,
job,
we
isn't
should have. We should have thought about that.
it? Yeah.
To think about that.
Amazing. That's what an incredible experience to have had,
Yeah,
and
that
yeah,
was up there
to
for
be able to
sure.
share. Have you had any on the sort of flip side of that, moments where things have just gone well, that you can look back on and think that was hilarious, even though maybe at the time they didn't seem that funny, or moments where things were genuinely just funny at the time?
Um, Definitely had like scary scenarios with events happening in the next hour or whatever, and we've not had things arrive last year, because I'm obviously now at Grey Doors, I'm more on the venue find side, whereas before I was more on the event management side, where I was on site a lot, and sort of seeing and like being present on the event. So there was moments where just all the wrong linen had arrived, all the wrong cutlery had arrived. The client was just like, well, what the hell? And it was like to match their branding colours.
Ah,
So obviously the linen isn't the colour of their brand, like it's a bit of a problem. And they were just spitting feathers, and they were like, well, you have to sort it. And I was just like, okay, how? And that was really scary. We did pull it off. We had like some random company like in the middle of nowhere who managed to reach out to a wedding venue who had, it was just one of those things where at this point we were like, price isn't an issue, can you please just help? So definitely moments like that. There probably has been some worse moments that I've probably mentally blocked out of my mind through pure trauma.
yeah. Focus on the good stuff. Focus on the Liam
Yeah,
Gallagher's. Yeah,
yeah.
quite, quite right, I
um
think.
but yeah.
Oh, well, I suppose that brings us neatly, in a way, onto the week in the life of Saffron, if you like. Because if we're talking about those moments and the stuff that you're now sort of, I guess, looking at a little bit more with Grey Doors. So yeah, I just wanted to find out what a typical week looks like for an events executive. I'm relatively, unversed in it. So coming at it from a completely different angle. Imagine I'm as dense about it as anyone can be. What does a typical week look like for you?
So there we're quite a big team now. There's like 8 of us or something. So I mean, I don't know how much you know in terms of how we work. So we will get inquiries. Oh wait, first I get into the office, make a tea, sit down. So we'll get a inquiry from our clients, and we kind of have assigned clients. So I'll have like a 1 and a 2. So my first one is the clients that are mine, and then second is if someone else can't take it, I'll take it if they don't have capacity. Um, that doesn't always work, because sometimes people's workloads are more than others, and
Hmm.
people may not have capacity. So we are really good at just helping each other out and just sharing the load, but generally that is what should happen. So we get an inquiry, and inquiries can range from literally like a meeting room for 2 people, no tea, no nothing, no tea, coffee, no snacks, to a conference for 500 people and accommodation. So it's really broad, like what you can get, and you don't know what you're going to get day to day. But generally, they probably are between sort of like 30 to maybe like 150 people, and then it will depend on they want accommodation, if it's just accommodation, if it's just meeting or conference space. Um, Sometimes we get inquiries for like activities, so we get a lot of people asking us to find sort of escape rooms or team building activities or golf or skiing or things like
And
that.
are the escape rooms, is that like the big trend at the moment then?
We
Because
do see a lot of escape room inquiries come in, so I think a lot of businesses are doing that as like a bonding thing.
is that, do you
Um,
reckon they're trying to get their colleagues locked up and so they can't get
yeah,
back out again?
yeah, maybe. Um, yeah, I think it is quite a good thing to do, isn't it, for work colleagues, because it encourages people to work together and problem solve, which I guess is
Yeah, the thing with escape rooms. It's almost like the consumer world is finally doing the same stuff that corporate businesses have been doing in these kind of activities. Because if you
yeah,
think about what an escape room is, it like you say, it's that team building, bonding opportunity, and businesses have been doing that and trying to find fun ways to do that for years and years and years, haven't they?
yeah,
Any kind of conference or um, yeah, bringing together of teams, there's always a desire to do that team building part. But I never, until you just brought that up now as something which now kind of gone full circle and corporates are doing the kind of escape room thing. I'd never really thought about it in those terms.
no, yeah. So a lot of businesses are doing that, or they'll want sort of to incentivize their employees or clients, so they'll take them away to like a ski session or something. So we do see a lot of that, but it is predominantly sort of meeting space, conference space, and bedrooms.
Mhm.
So we'll get inquiries throughout the day. It can really vary how many we get. Some weeks we can get sort of say 60 new inquiries. Some weeks it can be manic and we can have like 100 plus, which is great. And then, yeah, so we usually get the inquiry and then we contact the client, sort of just find out a bit more about their needs, what they want to do, just the nitty-gritty details that maybe they haven't included, just so we fully have an understanding of what they want. We then use a platform called Venue Directory mainly. We don't really use that for overseas bookings, and we do get quite a few overseas bookings, purely because they don't use it. So if we're getting an inquiry for France or Spain, or I know my colleague at the moment, she's like getting ones for like Uganda and Ghana and things, which is
Wow.
really cool. She's like, yeah, they definitely don't use Venue Directory. Um, so we'll have to obviously reach out to the venue separately. But normally we load it up onto the system with all the needs and send it off. And then hopefully, well, what should happen is you should sort of get a response within 2 hours. And then we create a proposal for the client and send it to them. So that will have like the availability, the costings, all the information about the venue, how far away it is from transport, um, pictures, amenities, everything like that.
Mhm.
And then basically we wait and see how they wish to proceed. So they normally proceed in different ways. Some people say, "Oh, can you send us actually some more options, more in this area or more in this budget?" Some people, I mean, the ones I love are the ones like, "Yeah, can we go for that one? That's great." Um, some people will be like, actually, we've decided to move this in-house. So if they say that, we'll say, was there something that you were specifically looking for that maybe wasn't in this initial proposal? Can we look at that for you?
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes it's like, oh, actually, so I had one recently and they inquired for Liverpool. And I didn't put two and two together, and I was doing the inquiry and these rates were coming back like ridiculously expensive. And I was like, what? I was like, £500 for one room in Liverpool for a bed and breakfast. So I was like, surely not on like a Tuesday. And then they were like, oh yeah, it's the week of Eurovision. And I was like, well, that would make
There we
sense.
go.
So sort of said to the client, are you sure you want to take them to Liverpool this week? And she was like, oh God, no, absolutely not. Let's look at a different month. Um, so yeah, it's things like that that we do day to day. And then sometimes we get like really big ones where, it may encourage us to get out on a site visit.
Mhm.
So I've went to view a few venues in Birmingham a few weeks ago, because we were doing putting an event together for our client. And I didn't have knowledge of the venue, and sometimes it's quite difficult when you're speaking to the client and they're like, oh, but what would we do in this instance? Or can we have this breakout room? Or can we do that? And I'm like, I can't visualize the venue off pictures. I can't really think about giving you a solution. I feel like I need to see it myself. So I went and
Yeah,
saw
of
it. And
course.
now I like going forward, if I had another client be like, do you know any spaces here? I could be like, yeah, and they've actually got this, 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 and it is really lovely, and it has got loads of natural daylight, and it has a lovely view. So I think in our job that's really important, and I think a lot of us are good at doing that and getting out and seeing places. And it's a really good perk of the job as well because you get to see so many places that you wouldn't ordinarily
Yeah.
see. And hotels, stay at hotels. Like I stayed in Bournemouth a few weeks ago, and they were giving free Friday night agency stays. And like Bournemouth's not really somewhere I've explored before, so I got to go and see Bournemouth. And
Mm.
yeah, it's a really interesting work, and it pushes you to see areas of the UK predominantly that you probably wouldn't think twice normally about going to see. So
Yeah, and as you said, the benefit there is that you can then talk with first-hand insight into the places that you're then recommending to clients as
exactly.
well,
It's
which
more
is
personal, yeah, and I think clients like that because sometimes
yeah,
you're just kind of the middleman of like this is this, this is this, this is this, and actually if you can say I have been here and actually it is really lovely, and
yeah.
you want my personal opinion, and that's quite nice, I think.
And I guess that sort of goes hand in hand with that relationship sort of building that you have with your clients as well. Is that something which is kind of key to your week as well? Are you kind of keeping
Yeah,
in touch with those that
for sure. I'm definitely a people person. So I mean, on a good day, I do enjoy speaking to people and chatting and like getting to know people better. And once I've established a relationship with someone, it's not that I wouldn't prior to establishing a relationship with them, but once I do, you do have that personal element where, you go above and beyond and you want to make sure that they're happy and got everything they need, because you feel like you know them. Not that you
yeah.
wouldn't do that for a client you didn't know, but it's just that more personal touch.
Well, I guess you understand more about what their potential desires would be in a
Yeah,
venue as well. So you get to know their usual habits when it comes to booking place, and you think, oh, it's this one. They're probably not going to like this one because of X, Y,
yeah,
Z. This one's going to be ticking the boxes because of ABC. And I suppose you'll build your own kind of internal profile of what each of your clients is like and what they like.
exactly.
And is that because that one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was in terms of the job you do and the sort of specifically around the meetings management side of things and the venue finding, what would you see as like the core impact for clients? So what do you think the main benefit for a corporate customer coming to talk to you would be? What do they gain from
Yeah,
working with
because I
us?
think people might sometimes look at it as, oh, you're just the middleman, but it's not that. It's taking the whole process of getting multiple quotes, multiple availability, waiting times. Like if any old person just rang a hotel for availability for 20, like you can be waiting ages, and they probably will get back to you on an email, and
Mhm.
it's probably not high in their priority because we do use venue directory, which a lot of established hotels recognize and check daily, because they know that that's where a lot of their business comes from. um, they will respond quicker, and also obviously with a better rate. And it just takes that groundwork out, all the options then come on a proposal together in price order, so sort of the less costly to the more dear. And you can easily see sort of how much each is, compare it from one room to how much it is for the amount of rooms they're looking for. Then just breaks down, you've got everything in one document to compare. So you've got all the images, everything they offer. And we can create a proposal for a client in a few hours with 10 venues on there, and they'll all be held. So we've now got these on hold for you for 5 days, and they can easily just look at it, whereas that could take a day for a client to get all that information. And usually it's people coming to us looking for things for their managers, for their seniors, so they can just go to them and say, here you go.
Yeah.
I think it's very valuable for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that gives you again the fact that you know your clients so well. It means that from that big list that you get, you're able to produce a proposal which talks to their specific needs and wants. You can understand both their, I guess, their corporate objectives, what they're generally looking to do with their meetings, the types of things they like to do, but then also the individual who's your point of contact. And whether it's them or whether it's their boss, you get to know what the usual, oh yeah, we like that,
Exactly.
is. And
Yeah, and different clients do tend to do repeat business at similar hotels. So if I know I'm getting an inquiry from X client, I will know, right, put this one forward, this one forward, this one forward. This is in their sort of realm of budget. This is where they like. They've been there before. And it's like, you can take a booking from an inquiry to confirmed and paid for in an hour sometimes, if you really do know your client, and obviously response times and stuff. So yeah, it is. Not all bookings are like that though. You have a lot of back and to, a lot of date changes, a lot of chip chopping, changing their minds. But I think just by getting a bit more of a relationship with the client or understanding the brand a bit better, you can offer them sort of the best service. And I think everyone in the team is quite good at that. And now we do have our own account. It does make it easier because you kind of know what they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, amazing. So, and from an accounts perspective, then obviously you said you've got your set of accounts, if you like, that you
Yeah.
primarily look after. Is that huge range of different types of company that you're working
Yeah.
with, or
So
yeah?
basically all the clients within Grey Doors we can do meetings for. So yeah, there's a lot. There's definitely a lot. So yeah, not no day is the same, and no inquiry is the same, which is quite nice. Makes it not very boring.
Well, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Is any variety adds to making it more interesting almost. And given a variety of clients, a variety of venues, a variety of inquiry types, trying to get a typical week, and say, all right, that's why we can't say, right, on a Monday, what I do is because it's
Yeah,
just always going to be different, isn't it?
every time I say, right, on Tuesday I need to get this done, and I write a list. Honestly, there's no point. That doesn't get done.
I don't think that's just events, though. I'll
No,
tell you that now. But
no, I don't think it is either, to be honest.
no, that's great. Thank you for the insight there. Are there any other particular standout stories around Grey Doors events specifically that you can share with us?
I'm sure there will be soon. I'm still relatively new. I've been here 6 months. Um,
Does it feel like 6 months, or does it feel like?
no, it's flown. It's honestly flown by. And yeah,
That's the better way to be, though. It's better it's flown by than dragged.
yeah,
And
for sure.
time flies when you're having fun and all that stuff. It's all true.
Exactly.
Good
Exactly.
stuff. All right. Well, I think that's a really great insight into what it's like within events. It's great insight into how you got into events in the first place. Um, We'll have a go at this quickfire questions bit now, I reckon, because again, this is one of your ideas, and we're happy to run with the ball with any of these sorts of ideas. I've got a few lined up, but to be honest, let's just see how it goes.
Okay.
And some of them you probably already answered in a way, but okay. So quickfire questions. I'll do some sort of jingle or something, shall I? When I put it together.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Like
right.
a shoo onto the screen or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Quick
Nice.
fire.
Quickfire questions.
Okay. Quickfire questions. Working from home or working from the office?
Office.
Oh, even though you're at home today.
I know. Well, I work from home 1 day a week, but I definitely am more like my most productive days are in the office for sure.
Yeah, I think there's everything's changed so much in the last few years in terms of the split, but there's definitely benefits to both, aren't there?
Personal thing. Like all my colleagues pretty much prefer working from home.
Oh, really?
I think a lot of them find themselves getting distracted in the office because they'll go and have a chat here or whatever. But I find myself getting more distracted at home because I'll be like, the floor is so dirty. And I'm just like, yeah, I try and think of I notice all the things around me that I want to change. And my
You can't
flatmate
change
comes
any of that in
home
the
and
office.
I've like moved all the furniture around.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh well, that's that's what lunch breaks are for, I suppose. And you work from home, it's just like quick, do everything. Overseas or UK inquiries?
UK.
UK inquiries.
Because
is
the
that
overseas ones aren't straightforward.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, but is there an aspect of
they're definitely more exciting, the overseas ones. But I think I tend to go for a bit more of an easy life, which probably isn't. Shouldn't probably be saying that. Oh well.
Can't be, anything but true to yourself.
No.
Tea or coffee or neither?
Tea.
Tea.
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey. Okay, so not just any old
Not
nonsense.
just English brekkie. No.
You want the good stuff.
I want the good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and milk and sugar or
Milk.
Milk. Okay, I'll remember that for next time I'm in Manchester, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. This might be an easy one. Mondays or Fridays?
Fridays.
Fridays.
For sure.
Mornings or evenings?
Mornings. I much prefer like the early shift to the late shift.
Right.
I would rather get up a bit earlier and start my day earlier and leave earlier than I would be in the office when it's dark. And yeah, definitely mornings. And I think the mornings go quicker, so you feel like less. It feels like less of a drag, whereas in the evenings I feel like time goes a bit slower.
Yeah, fair enough. Meal out or takeaway?
Meal out.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
Well, especially if you know all these fancy, venues.
Exactly. That's my
you know all the best places. Cool. And last one, Dell or MacBooks?
Well, Dell does have my heart, but definitely MacBook.
Fair enough. All right. Well, look, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to get an insight into what it's like inside the world of Grey Doors events, and to hear more about yourself and find out much more about you. So we will be back sometime in the not too distant future with the next episode. I will be relying on you, Saffron, to G up the team before we select next willing candidate to be involved. So just remains for me to say thank you once again, and look out for the next episode of Experiences Everything coming soon.
No worries.
Anyway,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care, and all the very best.